Fantastic, huh? Inspirational. So take a deep breath. We've been on a race for the last several hours, right? Breathe it in. I'd like to thank everybody who's been part of this event, those who have helped to organize it, imagine it, implement it, and for all of you who have participated in it. We've been in this together over the last day and a half, and I hope that you've found it not just interesting, but transformative in the ways that you see the world, the way you think about your career, and the ideas you have about what you'll do coming out of this experience. So first of all, thank you all. Second of all, you know, Katie and I were talking about how to close this session and what sort of final reflections I can bring. You know, we've covered a lot of ground. I'm not sure I can tell you anything new or that we haven't already addressed. And really the point wasn't for me to have the inspiration and insight. It was for you to have those inspirations, insights, and reflections. So let me just give you a little warning. That in a moment, I'm going to share some ideas, but I'd like to hear from at least a few of you about what are the things that you think will really stay with you, something that you learned, some question that you have, some new insight that you have. So I'd like to just hear from a couple of you, and if we don't get anyone to stand up, I know that I can force some of the Duke students to stand up because I control their grades. So that's my threat at this point. I want to share just a few thoughts. First of all, it's clear from the conversation today that climate change is an incredibly urgent issue, and it's the tip of the iceberg. I think we're not only looking at a climate issue, we're looking at a systemic issue about how we sustain a human population the size we have at the quality of life that we want and aspire to on a planet that has finite resources and requirements for us. So climate change is the most salient, most urgent, most visible part of that challenge, but I think it's much more pervasive than that. It touches every system that we care about: food, energy, cities, soils, people, ecosystems, and all of us are embedded in that system. So that's, I think, first takeaway is climate change is a great way in, but once you get there, you recognize the connections to all of the other issues we care about. Second is that, you know, from the beginning today, from Catherine's talk, and throughout the day, we know that there's an imperative for radical systemic change, and that we don't control the pace of that. Science, the atmosphere of the chemistry of the atmosphere sets the pace for our ambition on that. Number three, the transition has well and truly started. I mean, I think what I took away from this conversation today is we're not talking just about what we might do, but about what is really already happening in every corner of the world and the level of commitment and experimentation that's already going on. So the revolution's here, we're living it. To rise to the challenge, though, I think we need to have more imagination than we've had in the past, more investment, clearly, in the trillions of dollars, more coordination of players who haven't really necessarily figured out what interests they share or how they might work together. We need to do this at global scale, and we need to do it at the urgency as if we were in a war. So I think, how do we build that kind of urgency? Number five, in the energy panel, it was clear that there is no silver bullet, right? So no silver bullet, lots of buckshot, all shot in a really comprehensive and coordinated and strategic way. I think that's the challenge. There's lots of pieces that have to be figured out, need to be implemented, need to be driven. Number six, the leadership imperative. I think you heard from Lord Michael and from Jim that, you know, we are the people we've been waiting for. This is the moment for all of us to play leadership roles. And really, what could be more exciting than that? And finally, that's, I guess, where I come away from today. I think I honestly can say that this is probably the most energized and optimistic I've been around this issue after the discussions that we've had today. The tone in all of the conversations that I've heard is urgent and serious, but there's a level of emergent optimism and excitement about it. So I think that's what we have to continue to build on, draw from, and really use to our own advantage. So those are some of the points that I wanted to share with you. Any of you would like to share any of your thoughts on just some single points that you take away? Yeah, Eric?
Yeah, when Kate Gordon said climate change is as disruptive as automation, I thought that really resonated with me because so much of the discussion that we have in business school is often around, how are companies leveraging automation? And here's a topic that's actually impacting all of us at a global scale, and just remembering the scale of both of these issues simultaneously.
Yeah, to be able to reframe it along some of those other sort of tectonic plate shifts that are going on. Anyone else? Yes, Joseph.
So something that came up to me, I'm relatively new to sustainability, probably the summer before I started school, I'm the first year here at Fuqua, is this idea of like the time is now. Like I've heard that a lot in the past year and a half of studying this type of things, and I'm really curious to hear like think about how many of you heard this before, and is it actually the time? Dan, you just said you're really excited right now, and I come from strategy consulting, and I've heard this about a lot of other things as well, talking about cybersecurity, AI, blockchain, the time is now for all these different things. So that's something I'm going to think about a lot personally. Is this actually the time? But also more importantly, does it matter if it's the time, and what can I do whether it is the time now or if it's still,
Translating enthusiasm into action. Good. Anyone else? Yes.
When we were in the Food and Ag Center, one of the participants said, how can I be a sustainable ally now if I'm not in a sustainable field, specifically with that title? And Diane pointed out we all can be that, and the tools that we're having here have been able to look at the economic advantage to be able to have substantial growth. It doesn't happen just because we have sustainability on our title, but because we're looking for the opportunities in where we're at now.
Awesome. Good. So I just wanted to kind of whet your appetite. We're going to go to a reception now, which is going to be over at the JB Duke Hotel, right across the way here. I'd like to thank you all for being here, the great attention, the speakers that shared their insights, and the energy that you all brought to this. So give ourselves a round of applause.